All right. Everyone has an agenda sheet that came in. I know I tried to hand them out about 5 minutes ago or so. Does everyone have one? If you don't have one, Wesley can come by and give you one, okay? Of course, you test your wireless mouse before you get started, and then it doesn't want to work for you. Oh, that's fine. We'll do it the old-fashioned way.
No batteries, man.
No, it's fine. It's got batteries. It's just signal. All right. So our company, FireLogic, we have a nice little introduction to some of the things that we do here at the library. Our main course of business is not actually putting on these free classes. Our main course of business is running a technology consulting firm. We started off just doing a lot of residential work, fixing people's PCs. That's what I started doing when I was in a senior in high school, actually. And I've been doing it and a lot more ever since. And we brought on a team of 7 other people that have been helping me. We have a lot of technologies on the right-hand side. I'm not going to blabber them all off. You can read them for yourself. But we do everything from wireless networks, wired networks, computer repair, business phone systems, cloud email systems, the whole 9 yards. And we have about 30 years of combined IT experience on our team. And we're right here in Park Ridge. This is where I grew up. This is where I started my business. And this is the town that we call home. So we do encourage you to reach out to us if you need assistance. We do house calls and business calls. We can definitely help you out so you don't have to be the guy stuck working on his own computer right over there. We offer a library discount of 10% as long as you call us and tell us that you're using the library discount. We extend that to all of the guests that come to our classes. It's just one way that we want to give back to everyone. One of the things we want to mention, there is a pending shadow coming over the computer industry early next year, more specifically April, and that is the death of the Windows XP system and Office 2003. I don't want to spend too much time on this, but if you're running one of these old antiquated systems at home, we do encourage you to start looking at upgrade options, because once April comes and goes next year, you're going to be pretty much, as Microsoft says, on your own. And on your own means any new issues that come up, any new virus attacks that come out, any new bugs that open up with these two systems, you are on your own. They're not providing any more support for the public, so it is time to move off and upgrade to a newer machine for yourself. This isn't the only class that we're doing at the local libraries. Between the Park Ridge Library and the Niles Library, we are offering quite a few classes. Coming up very soon, actually end of next week, I believe, we're going to be doing a Google Apps class for people that want to use it for their business, for their professional life, how to use it, working with customers, how you can apply it to any kind of, a variety of different kind of industries. So we'll be showing off demonstrations of how we use a lot of Google Apps in our day-to-day work life, just like we're showing off some of the personal things that we use after hours today. So feel free to sign up for that class. We did a very nice class on Android tablets. All those neat little tablet devices are like iPads that you see in the store. We put one of those classes on how to use those a few months back here at the Park Ridge Library. We're redoing that class at the Niles Library in about 3 or 4 weeks as well. We're going to be offering a class on Podio, which is a cloud software program that can pretty much do anything you want to do in terms of organization, task management, things of that nature. And we're going to be offering, just before Thanksgiving this year, a Windows 8 class. The new upgrade for Windows 8 is coming out in October this year. We're going to be showing off how to use the new Windows 8 system. So if you have a new computer, or you're thinking about buying a new computer since Windows XP is about to die this holiday season, you can come out to that class. It's usually a full house. All those Windows 8 classes we've put on have had full seating capacity, so you have to register for that one early if you want to get a seat for that. And our website has all the dates and locations for all of our classes right on the website. go to that. You can click on events at the top, and we have a full listing of everything we're going to be doing for the next half year.
Here.
Yes. Oh, yes, go ahead.
Windows 8 versus 8.1. Two different.
Same thing. Windows 8.1 is just a free upgrade for Windows 8. So it's sort of a rehash of some of the things that Microsoft wanted to change or got wrong in the initial release. So, okay. So what this class is and what it isn't. If you came here expecting a full step-by-step demonstration of everything we're doing, it's not what we're going to be able to provide. We only have until 8:30 to cover 7 neat applications, 7 neat uses for those applications. I'm not going to be given full step-by-step on them. We're going to be given light overviews to show you what that particular application can do, some examples of how you could use it in your personal life, some of the ways we use it in our lives, and you can figure out how you want to extend that to things that you can do with that same application. There's so many uses for these Google apps out there. Even if we wanted to, there's no way we'd be able to provide all the examples of how things can be done. We may have a little brainstorming document that my girlfriend and I were coming up with different ideas for this class, and it was going past 2 pages already. So there are so many different things that these apps can do, but I'm going to give you a little bit of a taste. So it's sort of a show and tell. That's what you can consider this, is a bona fide show and tell. We'll go into a little bit of description, a little bit of the inner workings of these things, and we'll let your imagination roam free when you leave the class in terms of what you can do with these products. All right, so I love this picture that I found over here. I got a little bit of a spiel for, when we do these classes and we show how to use these various tools, sometimes people ask us, and a valid question, okay, you're showing us, what these things are for, but, what's the reasoning behind it? Why are these tools better than what I'm used to doing? So this is the story that I want to provide everyone to get us to the point of why these Google apps are so much better for our digital lives and are going to make your life easier if you intend on trying some of these things, not only the examples that we put on the agenda, but any other ideas that you may come up with. So of course, before computers, everyone was drowning in paperwork. This guy over here probably hasn't left his office for quite a few years. Before computers, of course, we were doing everything on paperwork. And again, in our personal lives, what does that entail? Printing things out, writing in our notebooks, post-it notes all over the place, trying to keep things. We're going to go over how to keep a recipe collection in check using one of these tools, Google Docs on here. So of course, computers helped us out because, again, we were drowning in whiteboard notes. I have one of these in my office that we use quite frequently. It's a valuable tool, but again, it can't replicate everything a computer does for us. And again, maybe post-it notes. We're having some of those going wild in our lives. So then we had computers come along. By the way, that's not a picture of myself. That's a photo I found online. Wes can probably name what kind of computer is in that picture. So then we started playing with computers. We had all these digital files, and the Microsoft Office revolution came about. And this is a common desktop that we see amongst some of our customers, Wes. And you tell me if I'm lying, but people have files all over the place. So when we were brought into the computer revolution, we started to go bonanza and making all these files, and organization was sometimes an issue for us. But again, these files were limited mostly to things we were working on ourselves. On our computer, we weren't necessarily sharing them out with others, so we were working in a little bit of a silo. And if we had to give people things, we were probably using floppy disks to do that back in the 90s. Best use for floppy disks these days is getting a little creative, using them for your art project. I wouldn't recommend storing things on floppy disks still. So then we figured out that email came about. So mid-90s, late 90s, everyone was getting onto email. So we figured out that, hey, we can finally share these files out with one another. And of course, Grandma Jane was emailing something to little Jimmy. Little Jimmy wanted to forward that item and a few more things over to his mom. But of course, he ran into some attachment limits because You can only put so much into an email. So his mom got that, and then she wanted to send out a copy of those items back to grandma and back to her son or anybody else. And again, we got in this loop and we got in this big confusion in terms of, okay, who's got the master copy of the file? Who's worked on this file last? Who has the newest revision of the file? How many pictures of the same how many copies of the same photos do we have out there? So again, we've been doing this whole circle, and it's been a nasty circle for the last 15, 20 years of just emailing things and emailing things. And we've sort of figured out that, okay, this doesn't work necessarily, because there's got to be a better way to share information, to work on things with other people without having to go through this nightmare of a process. Another issue was that everyone forgets to back up once in a while, and when your computer burns down, everyone's a little sad about that, or they start crying about that, because most of the time people, and we run into this a lot, we're dealing a lot with people that do not back up their machines. And this is one of the things that these cloud tools like Google Apps tend to solve for us, because we're not as reliant on keeping everything on that old computer in our basement. We're now putting those things in a safer place, a place that is backed up for us where we don't have to think about it. And that's where we get in trouble. When we need to think too much about backing up our files, that's when things like this happen to us. I've never run into a burned computer like this, so I don't know how bad that was. So our digital habits of how we have worked with files up until now. What's the problem with it? One of the biggest things is all the copies of copies that we have. So again, emailing these things off to other individuals. A big question is, okay, so 10 other people have a copy of that Excel file that we made. Who's the one that has the newest copy? Is that person going to send me back that newest copy? Do I have to ask that person for a flash drive? Again, when we're working with others on these kinds of files, this is a really big issue. I used to work at the high school district here in town, and big problem among students was everyone working on that, presentation file that they wanted to show off to the class, and you have 3 teammates, everyone wants to put their part into it, but how do 3 people work on it at the same time if they go home for the night? That's a big question that wasn't able to be solved until tools like this came along. How do we easily share that information? Again, is emailing the best solution? I don't believe so, and I'm going to show you why the way Google Apps do it is a lot better and a lot easier. Another big problem was, of course, if someone doesn't have Microsoft Office. What if someone has the wrong version of Office? So a big problem was people with old copies of Office and some people with newer copies of Office. The newer copies always had an easy time working with the files, but then the older people always had to say, hey, you got to save that file in the old version because I can't use it. So okay, send the file back, resave it, send it back to me, and again, we got this back and forth chain, a messy, nasty chain of processes that is just so 1990s. And there is a better way to do it, and I'm going to show everyone how that works. Again, big question of who's keeping backups. Hopefully most of us are doing backups of our files or moving our things into a cloud solution that does it for us. But if you're not, backups are always a question, because it's not a matter of whether or not your computer is going to die. Your computer is going to die. Even if it's working for 5, 10, maybe 12 years, like some of the machines we've seen in Operation West, some of these systems, no matter how long they go, they are going to die out at some point. And then another nagging issue was font files. So if you make something really creative and fancy in Microsoft Word and send it off to someone, little Johnny doesn't have the font file that you had in your computer, it's going to show up like gobbledygook on his machine. So again, we're sending it back, we're resaving it, we're resending another copy, and it's just a messy, nasty situation. So these are some of the reasons why we've seen these kind of digital processes fail over the last 5, 10 years or so, not only because files are becoming so large and pervasive, and we have so many of them, but because the way we want to work with them and our needs for them just don't work with the old way of doing things. So Google has provided us with a few solutions and is helping us answer some of these questions of, how can we work better than the old way of doing things with Office files and pictures and all these other things. Music, there's a little music item that we're going to show up at the end called Google Music, which is very neat, and Wesley's going to show us that too. So all these little conundrums that we've run into with this massive explosion of files on our computers, there is an answer. There is a solution for it. So some people ask us, why Google Apps? Why is this something that I should consider? I've been using Microsoft Office. It works for me. It's been working for me. Persuade me. What is the big deal about this Google Apps shtick? So one of the best things, unlike Microsoft Office or the Apple alternative or any of the other paid Office suites out there, all the apps today we're going to show you, they're completely free. They don't cost a dime to go ahead and sign up for or use. All you need to access these items is a simple Google account. And a Google account is completely free of charge. If you have a Gmail email account, you already have a Google account. So you can jump right in and you can start using any of the items, any of the tools that we're going to show off on this big screen today. Going along with that, the fact that they're free, they are all browser-based primarily. There are some apps like Google Docs and Google Drive that have tablet apps and smartphone apps for us, so you can access those on the mobile side. But the most basic way to access all these tools we're going to show off is just a web browser, which is neat because even if you have a 10-year-old computer or a 2-year-old computer, you can probably use everything we're going to show off here on the screen today with some limitations. There are some caveats to that. But for the most part, a web browser is all you need to get these things done. And again, going along with that, that means that you can work on these items at the library, at home, at school, at work. You don't have to be tied to that one system. That's another big problem with Office. If you've got a newer version of Office in your computer and you're working with your files there, of course you're going to lug that laptop around. Or you have to make sure you're chained to the desk in the basement working on it there, because that was always a problem. Is the other computer going to have the copy of Office that I need? When you're using a solution like this that's based on the internet browser, you can go anywhere. As long as the computer has internet access, you have access to work on your items. I think that's pretty neat. You can also go ahead and share to anyone with a Google account. I'll take that back. That's partially incorrect, because you can share most of these items out with truly anyone in the world. It just depends. If they have a Google account, they can go ahead and work on those items with you. So all you care about is sharing those items out with the public and just providing read-only copies of, say, a paper that you wrote or a presentation that you made. That's completely free. No one needs any kind of account to be able to see that, and all you have to do is make a little link for them to be able to access it. So it's all integrated. It's pretty seamless within the whole Google ecosystem, and I'm going to show off some of those aspects of how sharing works today, so you can go home, create a Google Doc, and share it out with someone. Yes, go ahead.
Question. What is a web browser?
A web browser is any program that you can use to access the internet. Google Chrome, Internet Explorer, Firefox. If you've sat down at a computer and accessed your email on the web or any other website, you've most likely used a web browser.
Let me ask a quick question. How many people in here are still running Internet Explorer primarily to get online? All right, huge word of advice. Derrick mentioned that this is compatible on computers as old as 10 years. If you have a newer computer, Internet Explorer might work well, but this is still going to be my advice for anyone still using Internet Explorer. Go online to google.com and type in Google Chrome. It's a faster browser. It's significantly faster than Internet Explorer. It's also quite a bit safer than using Internet Explorer, and you're less likely to be able to download something malicious that could hurt your computer. And of course, as with everything else Google seems to do lately, it's completely free.
Yeah, Google Chrome is a very, very, very good tool, completely free. And if you run into websites on your older computer, I'll get to you in a moment, that do not work on those older versions of Internet Explorer, especially if you're running a computer running that Windows XP that we talked about, which is going away, Google Chrome's an easy way to get back up to be able to view any websites for yourself. Yes?
Do you have that Google Chrome upstairs on those computers upstairs?
They have Firefox on those.
They have the Firefox program, which is very similar, but not the same. But again, it's got very similar functionality in it. So yes, they do have an alternate browser upstairs. Another nice part is that you don't have to worry about backups for your items. So the way that this whole cloud works is that any files that are up on their service, they handle the backups for you. So even if one of their systems crashes and burns or just completely fails, they have multiple copies stored on their side. So even if you go to access it, you would never know that one of their systems died. Completely different than you using your computer and it getting burned or dying on you, and you lose access to all your things unless you have a nice backup. And more often than not, we work with people that forget to do their backups or forgot to do a backup within the last 4 weeks, and they lost some important work for themselves. So, yes?
How often do you suggest a backup? How often?
It's a different answer for everyone because some people sit on the computer 1 time a week. So I would say as often as you're using your system on a consistent basis. If you sit down once a week to work on a simple letter to someone, I'd say a once a week backup. If you're working on your machine every single day for work purposes, class purposes, you should probably have a backup going every other day or so.
I mean, it also depends on what you're backing up. If we're talking about pictures that you maybe download every time you go on a trip, I'd say backing them up anytime you add new pictures is a good solution. You don't really need to do backups after if nothing's really changed in between.
Yeah.
So anytime you add a lot of information to your system, I'd recommend doing a backup.
Okay.
Go ahead.
If you have an external hard drive and you get hit by a virus, would that knock out both hard drives?
Not necessarily, not usually. It can happen. We have talked to people recently that have had it happen, but it's quite uncommon. Usually having 2 copies of your information is a good bet. The thing we don't like about external hard drives is that they tend to fail as well. Dropped, knocked over, electrical damage. I mean, they're just like the drive inside your regular computer, but they're sitting out in the open. They tend to get knocked around and things like that. So they're actually more prone to failing than your internal disk drive. So I don't like, I mean, they're good because having a second copy of your data is always better than none, than just 1 copy. But they are not the safest bet for keeping backups of your data.
And the other thing is the way that they're making those portable hard drives now, before you'd have a little board that would be between the drive and the USB. Now they're putting the actual board for the hard drive right onto the actual drive itself. And what will happen is with these newer drives is that pin will get bent and the entire drive's useless. I mean, they're a lot more delicate than they used to be.
How would you recommend backing up pictures?
As far as pictures, there's 2 different ways, and I'm sure that we're going to go over one of them. Google has a free program called Picasa that you can use with any Google Apps account. What it'll do is you have your picture library, it'll take a look at the entire library, and then you have the option of adding them to your Picasa account, so they'd all be online, backed up, and saved for you. Alternatively, if you wanted a copy on your own computer, just go ahead, go to Walmart, Best Buy, grab yourself a small portable hard drive, about, I'd say, 500 gigs or so, and then go into your user folder, copy your My Pictures, or your Pictures folder, depending on what version of Windows you're running, and just drag it over to your portable hard drive.
Instead of a disk or a...
I don't recommend using a disk or a flash drive. They're a little prone to failure. Also, I know people that have, and this is more so with the older flash drives, if you store photos on a flash drive and not access that flash drive for, say, 10 years, the flash drive will probably be wiped out by the time you open it up again. They do have a limited life retention. I mean, it's a really, really long time, but after a while, those flash drives will actually wipe themselves.
Flash drives aren't even that safe. I mean, they're a little safer than the internal drives in our computers. But just a few days ago, we had to send a flash drive in for someone that thought this is the best way to actually be saving my data, and it cost him $500 to get that drive professionally repaired via digital surgery. So it is not cheap to get those recovered, and I don't recommend using a flash drive as your only means of storage.
It'll always be easier to get files back off of a damaged hard drive versus a damaged flash drive.
So the backup situation, again, as I said, handled by Google. And the other thing is, the nice part that the cloud gives us is that everyone always has the latest copy. So again, this version nightmare that we've been dealing with Office files, 20 versions of the same file, and we're curious who has the latest one. This has been resolved because, especially with Google Apps, Microsoft has some solutions for this as well in their cloud services. But Google primarily, they do a good job with giving us an interface where the copy you're viewing is the same one as your friend is viewing, the same one as the family member is viewing, and then anyone else is viewing that might be looking at it. So there's no need to be worrying about copies of copies anymore. The copy you're looking at is the latest copy that's being stored and being updated. And likewise, this helps us with multiple editors that want to work on the same file. We're going to go into some of that magic in just a tad. So this, yes?
What about the security feature, privacy?
I'm going to get into that. Just a few more slides, okay? I'll mention a little bit about privacy and security. This particular class, and most of our classes we do, our agenda document was fully made on Google Docs. Our Google Moderator page, which is where we're holding our live Q&A for this class. If you have a computer device, I see one person or maybe two people with computers here. But if you go on there, we're going to show off what the Google Moderator tool can do. That's a free tool, again, that we're using for an aspect of the class here. And Google Presentation, which is a part of Google Docs, is the PowerPoint, what most people call PowerPoint. It's actually our presentation tool that we're using today. Completely free. I was working on it right on the web just a few days before this class is being held. And everything was being stored up on Google's site, and I was able to create a full-blown presentation. Most people would call it, say it's PowerPoint, but it's actually a completely free tool. So good question about privacy security. So everyone always asks me about privacy and security in the cloud. I happened to write an article about this for a technology website called Beta News a few weeks back, and it's about a study that was done by a research firm called ComScore, and they actually went out and surveyed a bunch of businesses, up to about 500 computers in size per business throughout US, Britain, Germany, and France. And they came up with, they wanted to find out, okay, so what are the issues and how are the feelings about the cloud before we start using the tools in the cloud, and how are we feeling and how are we doing after we move to the cloud? And surprisingly, or not surprising for me, because I knew about this previously, but 94% of these businesses and organizations reported that they actually had better security after they moved to the cloud compared to using traditional software like Office. And a big part of this reason is, specifically for businesses especially, is that businesses think, and people think, just because it's on my computer, it's so much safer than being up in the cloud. But what people fail to realize is that the amount of money and technology and personnel and engineering power that goes into making sure these kind of cloud systems functioning up to levels, because they're being used by government organizations, they're being used by large businesses, they're being used by the enterprise, all these different organizations that require the highest levels of security and privacy controls. So they have to make sure that this stuff is up to par. And that is part of the reason why we're able to leverage much better hardware in terms of security and privacy controls, because the things that small businesses are able to purchase for themselves, or even home users, which is even less than what the average business is able to afford, we can't get that kind of security in our systems. So it's just a little bit different way of thinking about where are my files and how good are the controls surrounding them. Yes?
Who owns the company cloud?
The cloud's not a company. The cloud is it's a term that describes pretty much the whole internet today. It's a catchphrase. It's the internet.
Okay.
We just call it the cloud today.
Thank you.
Yes?
Well, how does the security tie with what's going on today with the NSA getting all this information from the telephone companies, asking outfits like Amazon to turn over their information?
I got this one.
Yeah.
And what's stopping? How do we know that Google hasn't been told by the NSA to turn it over?
They have been approached by the NSA and asked to turn it over.
They have not fought the government. These companies are turning this stuff over to them.
Actually, here's what happened. Google has been approached by the NSA in regards to that issue. They have requested, they issued a gag order to Google about the whole mess. And basically what ended up happening was Google basically told everyone, the government's looking at your email. They don't have access to any of the Google Docs information that we're talking about today, but pretty much all email in the United States is, open to being snooped into. As far as the Google Docs stuff, I mean, that has the highest levels of encryption. And I mean, if there's really something that you feel insecure about hosting in the cloud, I mean, it's going to be on a per user basis. I mean, the only one that's going to be able to see anything would be the NSA. So if there's something that you don't want the NSA to see, don't put it in the cloud. But for the most part, we're giving demonstrations on hosting cooking recipes and such, and I doubt the NSA is going to want to know about your banana cream pie.
I don't know, it's pretty good.
And here's another thing to keep, here's another food for thought. The reason that email is the sole part of this equation that can be snooped on is the same reason that telephone calls can be snooped on. Because once a telephone call is made, once it gets over the air or via cellular transmission, that's open for inspection by any third party. It doesn't have to be the NSA. Just like the email transmissions that are going across the internet, if those aren't locked down with high security that some organizations do have in place, a traditional email that you send is out for anyone that has a system on the internet, can potentially be snooped on. And the NSA is just using, for good or for bad, I'm not going to sit here and make that debate, but they're just using technology that's been around for 20 years to view messages. They just have the horsepower and computer power to be able to do so on such a massive scale. And so they're not breaking any kind of technology backbones that we didn't already know had some loops within already.
And outside of the NSA, a more realistic security threat for your own personal information, if you have all your files in the cloud and you bring your iPad or your laptop or whatever device it is that you're using to Panera, let's say you leave it on the table and go to the washroom, you come back and it's gone. I mean, that information's in the cloud. You can change your password the moment you find out about it, and all your information's safe. It can be completely wiped from that device, and then you don't have to worry about anyone having your personal information. And that's where this higher percentage rate comes into play. You don't have to worry about losing your entire collection of photos, all your documents, all this really important stuff that otherwise would be out the window with the device. So it just, and then on top of that, it's not only for that device. If you get a new phone or a new tablet, you type in the same credentials that you did for your old one, all that information is coming right onto your new device. You don't have to do anything extra. So there's security, convenience, it really is a better option.
Yeah, and here's another thing. You have a flash drive with all your important financial files and everything sitting on that in your home on your coffee table. What, are you going to guarantee that a thief's not going to come in and steal that flash drive from you at home? It's a lot less likely that a thief's going to come into a hardened data center with armed guards and fences and security cameras and multiple layers of internal building security as opposed to walking in your house and taking something from your home or your business. So that's something I tell all business owners that question me about this, and it tends to stop the debate right there. Yes?
And I think, a lot of the question has to do with how much access do they have to that information, the computer companies or whatever. Can this information be encrypted that you store online?
If you want, there is a route that you can take. There's a program called TrueCrypt. It's completely free. You can download it on any computer, Windows, Linux, Mac, whatever. And if you wanted to store your files on Google Drive, you just encrypt them, one big file, put a password on it. Google can't see it, no one else can see it. The only disadvantage to that is now you can't use it with Google Docs. You'd have to use Word or whatever format you use to create the file locally. But you can still store your stuff in Google Drive and then get that free backup advantage if you're really worried about the security. So, I mean, like for general stuff where you're not really too concerned about the security, you can do that, but then at the same time you can TrueCrypt your TurboTax files and have those stored safely.
Okay, that's good to know, thank you.
Yep, security convenience, it's the balancing act. It's the question you have to answer for yourself. Okay, so if you want to get started, if you want to use some of the tools that we're going to be showing off here today, it's very simple. And as I said, if you have a Gmail account, you already have a Google account, so no need to make a second one. Just go into your Gmail, and at the top of your screen, once you're logged in, you'll see some black navigation bar, and you'll be able to get access to all the various tools that we're talking about here today. Most of them you can. Some of them you have to type in manually. But the website over here is just accounts.google.com/signup. I believe I put it on the agenda as well. Yes, I did. Item number 5. You can go, when you go home, or if you have your computer here, you can sign up for a free Google account. And it entitles you to a free email address. It then entitles you to use the Google Docs service for a Microsoft Office alternative. It gives you 20,000 free songs on Google Music. It gives you storage space of up to, I believe it's 15 gigabytes of free space on Google Drive. We were just talking about that. The Google Drive service, it's pretty much a free personal backup space for photos, for documents like Microsoft Office files. So you get a lot with your free Google account. As I said, if anyone has a computer device here, feel free. You can go to this address over here. I'm going to bring this up. It's actually our first topic that we're showing off, is how to go ahead and get suggestions from people with little effort. I'm going to demonstrate how to create a suggestion voting site, but the way we're using it is a different way in terms of taking questions from a crowd. Yes?
I have a real quick question.
Go ahead.
You said, you know, we get all this stuff from Google for free. What do they get from letting us do this?
Wes?
Yes, that's a fair question. What they'll do, they have a robot that they've set up. It scans the contents of some of the stuff that you're using. They don't keep a copy of it. It's the way that it works is whatever you have on the screen, let's say you open 5 emails. The robot will scan the 5 emails and then give you ads on the side that are relevant to the stuff that's in your inbox. Now, Google doesn't store that information. It just uses it really quickly to throw some ads on the window for you. But as far as, you know, invasion of privacy is literally designed to store those ads and nothing else. So it's not like, yes, they're using some of your personal information to deliver a source of revenue for themselves, but they're not selling it to any third party.
Okay, so they don't provide that data to anybody else about you? No. Okay.
And that practice is actually not, Google's not the only one that does that. Google just gets the most heat for it. I've looked at the terms of service for Microsoft's free Outlook.com service, Hotmail, Yahoo, all the other big names, Comcast, SBC Global, AT&T. They all have a form of doing that same thing to target ads at you.
Right.
So it's not by any means just Google that's doing that kind of activity on us. The only way you're going to get around that and not have that is if you pay for a paid Microsoft Office 365 email account or a paid Google Apps for Business email account. Those are the only, one of the few services that they don't do any kind of data mining in that manner on you.
So
okay?
when you do that search for a new pair of shoes like a week ago, and then for the next following week you get nothing but ads about shoes, that's not a coincidence.
Yeah.
But
All right. So we'll get back. We'll get to the Q&A document in just a tad.
I have a question.
Go ahead. Yes.
When I put this in, the tiny URL, what am I supposed to be seeing?
You're supposed to get to a, well, I'm going to bring it up in just a moment because we're going to show off that tool actually just next. So I'm going to show you exactly how it's supposed to look. It's going to be a page that has a spot where you can submit questions that you want us to ask. They can be voted upon. And again, if there's not a lot of participation, it's not going to be as nice of a demonstration as we'd hoped it to be. But we're going to show you the meat and the bones of how the tool works so you can use it sometime down the road. All right. So the way that we targeted the demonstration explanation is that you have a need to get suggestions from other people. And the tool we're going to be showing off here briefly is called Google Moderator. It's one of the lesser known tools. I was introduced to it when I used to work at District 207 at Maine South High School. We used it in a lot of our training sessions that we did for staff and students. And I thought it's a great tool, a great way to show off how you can go ahead and get ideas for something. So the scenario that I'm using for this demonstration is you're trying to get ideas from a big family. You got 15, 20 people trying to figure out how to figure out where to go for little Timmy's birthday party. So of course you don't want to sit on the phone. You don't want to be sending out 20 emails, wasting all that time. You can offload the work on everyone else and put up one of these Google Moderator websites and instead ask the question and ask them to submit responses or ideas for it for you. And likewise, everyone will be able to see all these things in real time and also vote on them. So this is nice, especially the more people that are involved with this, And I'm going to bring up our live demonstration in just a moment. But if you have a lot of people voting on this, you can get consensus on items very quickly, very easily, if everyone just goes in, puts in their suggestion, and also likewise votes on what they think is most important. And again, the nice part about this tool is that it requires not a lot of time in back and forth. It also doesn't require any amount of time in learning how to make this, because it's all drag and drop. It'll take you probably 5 minutes to get the hang of how to put one of these together. So I'm going to show you the one that I put together for this class. Okay. And there are many more uses for this than just finding out where to go for a birthday party. Again, some other ideas I had here, ideas for class projects, business proposals, ideas for wedding locations. My friend here is getting married next year, so this could be useful for him. All right. So Google Moderator, let's go over here. Let me bring up the one that we're using for this class. So this is how the moderator page looks on the back side. This is sort of what you see when you go in and you're the person that has ownership over this, what's called a series. They call it a series because you can make a series that asks for responses, asks for questions, asks for suggestions, which again can all be voted upon. So I'm going to go ahead into the live view to take a look. And when you get to the page, this is sort of what you should be seeing if you go to this website on your computer device. So you should be seeing a page that has a spot for you to submit a question at the bottom. There will be a listing of all the questions showing at the top here. Again, I've just submitted a test question because I wanted some people to post some questions here by the time we're done. But even if we don't get any, I'm going to show you here how easy it is to post a question in this example. So a hypothetical question, how many Google Docs files can I put into my Google Drive? Question. Submit. Okay. And again, this is a lot more lively when I used it at the high school district because I'd have kids and students or teachers going in over here and putting things in on the fly, and you'd see things moving up and down over here as they were being voted up or down upon for things they did like or they didn't like. So again, as you can see, this is an easy way to collect ideas or responses or suggestions or questions on almost anything you're trying to do. And making one of these is very simple. All I have to go to is google.com. As long as I'm signed in, google.com/moderator. It's not listed on this top navigation bar here, so you actually have to type this one in. This is one of the few that you actually have to hunt for. But as soon as you get in here, this is some other series that I made for some training sessions that we had over the past few years. If I wanted to make a new series for myself, very simple. Go ahead, click on Create Series. What do I want to title it? Perhaps I'm trying to find wedding ideas. So, ideas for wedding reception. I'm going to click on Advanced over here so I can edit. Oh, it's going to ask me for the title again. Wedding reception. Ideas. Don't really need a description for it. Visibility, since I'm signed into a work Google Apps account, it's asking me to set visibility between my company or everyone on the web. I'm going to do anyone with the link. And I'm going to go ahead and say let people submit anonymously so that I can send this out to maybe some of the closer members of my family. If I wanted to get these ideas for a wedding reception location, I can go ahead and have them submit these without having to sign into a Google account. And I can create the series here. And there we go. I can go ahead, I can share this link out with anyone. And as soon as they get to the page, they can go ahead and submit. It's calling it a question, but again, this is we're looking for suggestions for wedding reception places. So again, we could do ideas. Where were you looking?
Golf club.
Golf club. Submit.
White Eagle.
White Eagle. And again, when you submit something, of course, it's a vote up from you because you submitted it, obviously. But if you were working on something where multiple different people were interjecting and family members, and you like the idea of going to the Wisconsin golf course resort, and someone else wanted to go instead to the beach, you'd see that. You can post comments, post a response to different items over here, and of course, vote these items up and down. So again, it's a very easy way, instead of sitting there on the phone for weekends on end, figuring out where the whole big family wants to go for an event or for a reception for a wedding, put up a Google Moderator page for them, share out the link at the top for everyone, email it, say, here, have at it. We'll see what wins. You do the heavy lifting. I don't want to do it.
So how do you set up your links then? I mean, does it come out of your...
The link to get to this page?
Yeah, I mean, you want to send it out to all of your family. I mean, the first time you're doing this.
The first time I'm doing it, all I would do is very simply, so this is usually a combination of this tool plus email. I'd be taking my link from the top of the bar, I would copy that, and I would pretty much paste it into an email. Say, here's the page that we're gonna use to vote on suggestions for the wedding reception, for Wesley's wedding. As soon as they get that link, I'll show you how it'll look for someone that's not signed into any Google account. It'll look just like this. I'm pasting it into a fresh window. There it is. That's what someone's going to see as soon as they get there. They're going to see the responses that have come in already, where the votes are, and what kind of comments have been posted. So pretty neat. And again, there's millions of other uses for this Google Moderator tool besides my my school scenario and finding out where you want to go for a family event. There are so many different things that you can do with this. I have used it we've used it in the business world as well when we've been doing other trainings like this. We have done it to collect ideas for potential classes that people have wanted us to put on. So the sky's the limit. Yes.
I still don't follow how you're establishing this link. Let's say you have 10 family members or relatives that you want this to go out.
Sure.
Let's name this number 1, 2, 3, all the way up to 10.
Okay.
Now show me what you do to establish that link with those 10 people.
It doesn't matter how many people I'm sharing with, because all that matters is this link up at the top here. This link on the address bar.
When you go inside...
You don't want anybody else besides the 10 to get it.
Well, it's a very complicated URL. It's not something that somebody would just be able to guess at.
I think he's asking like...
When I created it, it asked me, do I want to make it public on the web or do I want it to be set to anyone with the link? When I set it to anyone with the link, only people that have this exact very crazy link are going to be able to find this page.
Right, but what he's saying is, so I think what you're asking is then, how did you do it? So you would have to send an email to each of those people saying, this is the address of this person.
Yes.
See,
yes. So an email still would have to go out to all the
At
people.
least one to everybody.
So
right?
you copy and paste it then?
Right into an email.
Yes.
Right.
So all I would do, I would copy this address here. I would go into my email inbox. I'm using Gmail here for our example. I would compose, I have a group of people in my contact group already. I'm going to send it out to my whole family. Here is the wedding reception ideas list we talked about. Paste in my link. I send it off. They do everything else from there. There's nothing else I have to do.
The other thing people may not realize here is that you can have a group listing, like you can say family and already have everybody's email.
And I'm going to go over that. That's one of our Google Apps demonstrations of how to make a nice little grouping like that for your family members or business contacts or anyone else.
Be careful not to send that.
You don't have to send it to each different family. It says that sister may
Confuse a lot of people.
That's his distribution. Oh, that's his distribution.
Yeah. So if you looked at all these addresses, everyone actually has an address behind this name. Google just cleans it up and makes it look nice when you actually put it into an email. So if you look at the rollover here, all of them have a proper email address on them.
Oh boy.
Got it.
Okay?
Have the pictures too then?
If they had a picture on their account, if they put one up to themselves, yeah, you would see a photo of themselves.
With Google.
Yeah, with the Google Moderator.
Not within Google Moderator, you'd see it within your Gmail, your email service. But within Google Moderator, it doesn't have that photo capability, unfortunately.
One other tool I want to bring up really quick that's really similar to this. If you wanted to do something similar to this but anonymously, there's another product called Google Forums that's Google Forms that's very, very similar to this, but it's more for taking surveys or tests or different things like that. It's also free and available.
Yep, we're showing off Google Forms today.
Okay.
I've got a little demo on Google Forms.
It's almost the same thing.
All right, any final questions? Because I want to keep rolling. I got another six items we want to cover, and a little bit of Q&A at the end, so we have to keep moving here, okay?
Are we doing voice?
We're not doing voice today. Okay, so we already had some questions about how do I get this neat little grouping of my family members to show up just by typing in family. I get that caught a few people off guard. So I actually put that into our agenda list for how to do that. So if you do have a Gmail account, or after you sign up for one today, you can go ahead and do the same sort of thing for yourself. So here's the problem. You have a large family, or you have a large number of contacts from your social club, or you have a large number of contacts from extended family, or whatever else, whoever else that you contact on a regular basis. And this number is in the 10, 15, 20 or more people range, and you're always plucking away and trying to remember all those people that are on that email list. Google's got an easy solution for us, and it's built right into Gmail. So if I go into my address book, and again, this is assuming that you're using Gmail as your email service. This is not going to work on any other email platform out there. If I get logged into my email, and I click on the left-hand side, go into Contacts, from within here, I just had some sample people in my contact, in my address book. So I had my brother John, I had Dad, Lindsay, my mom, my sister, and my uncle within here. And what I wanted to do is I wanted to make a listing like this called family. So I can group them, and not only my family, again, any kind of grouping of individuals that you may need. I used to do this when I was playing on an inline hockey team for my college, when I had to email everyone out for that. I use the same sort of thing for my business email, when I just email all my staff members on my team. So very useful across many different situations. So for our example here, I've got all these family members, all their addresses in here. Nice, I might have 10, 20 of them. Of course, I could sit there, type them all out into an email and add them all into my to or CC line of my the email I'm creating. I want to make it easier on myself. So I can go ahead, I've done it already, I made a family label here, but let me delete this family label so we can redo it from scratch for ourselves really quick. I'm going to delete the group. So say I wanted to make a grouping for all these people. I wanted to do, this is my, my close family. So I'm going to make a new group on the left-hand side here. And I'm going to type in close family. I'm going to click OK. And now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to select the people that I want to be a part of that group. Very simple. My brother, my dad, girlfriend, mom, sister, uncle. I don't think Wes is in that group just yet. All right. Close family. All I do up here is, now since I've made my group, all I have to do is select them, go up here to the little groupings icon that shows, and select close family. Click on apply. There we go. All those people have been added in to my group called close family. I have 6 of them. I added 6. There are 6 in there now. So what's nice about that? Again, if I go back into my Gmail area for my email, click on compose. If I start typing in close family, look what happens. There it is. It starts coming up for me automatically. I click enter, and it populates my entire to section or CC section or BCC section of my email in one single half sentence or less than a sentence. One word. As opposed to, traditionally I'd have to sit there for, maybe 2-3 minutes and remember. Again, the larger the list is, the more time consuming that would have been. And the nice part about these contact groups within the address book is that not only can someone be a part of the close family group, but say that, and this is a true example, Lindsay's also a part of my staff. So if I wanted to go ahead and put Lindsay into my work colleagues group, I could do that as well. And she can be a part of work colleagues, and she can also be a part of close family. So you can mix and match people into different groups. It's not like a folder where a file's in a folder, and if it's in this folder, it can't be in that folder. The contact groups in here are very malleable. People can be existing within different groups. They're pretty much just taking and giving you Post-it notes. So you're putting a Post-it note on your family, a Post-it note on all of your work colleagues and any other social groups or large numbers of people you want to email, and giving you the ability to make a quick email to all those individuals at once. And I can just as easily delete that group by going into it. On the left-hand side, going to More, and deleting the group. And it's all gone.
The thing that's also really nice about these groups is if somebody changes an email, you only have to change their individual email, then that email will change for all of the groups that you have them set in. So, as Derrick said, one person can exist in multiple places at the same time, but if you change the details for that one user, it'll fix it for all the groups.
But one of the things I found, Comcast has basically the same thing with groups. But if, let's say, in your contacts, the email changes, the address changes, it doesn't change it in the groups.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, that's... Does Comcast automatically update your address book entry for you with the newest address of that person? Because I don't know of any address book program that will do that for you.
No, if I change the content in the contact,
sure,
okay, it doesn't change the email address in the groups.
The Google solution will.
Yeah,
Google does it automatically. Because again, Comcast is more so making a copy. It sounds like it's making a full copy of that address entry and leaving you with 2 copies now. So now you're managing the one person that's not in any contact group, and you're managing the contact group entry. So it's really a goofy way of doing it, where Google's solution instead just uses the post-it note theory, the contact group theory, where you update it once and it's updated across all the groups. So you're not doing that hunt and peck for, okay, how many copies of Aunt Jane do I have in my address book? I'm looking at her once, I'm updating her once, and that's it.
Google isn't a huge fan of redundancy. Like, they really want you to have just one copy of everything, so then you don't have to worry too much about finding it.
Now, can I transfer or my contacts from my Yahoo mail into Google?
Yeah. So go ahead, Wes.
Yeah. Sorry. You can actually do your emails, your contacts, and pretty much anything that's inside of your Yahoo account. Google has a tool called the Email Migration Assistant. You just type in your Yahoo credentials, your username and password, and it'll go into your Yahoo account and take everything out of Yahoo or AOL or whatever service you're using, and it'll migrate it all to Google Apps for you. And then the last thing it'll do is it'll add a forward from your old email account to Google Apps for, I think, up to a month.
Does it delete what's in?
You have the option of either, it asks you how you want to manage that. Do you want to delete all the old messages, or do you just want to keep them? And then at the same time, it'll check them all for spam.
Well, but I mean, like, it will leave what you have in Yahoo alone.
Mm-hmm.
You'll still have that version, and then you can decide
if you choose so. It gives you the option during the migration.
So you can't save all of your old emails that are in your old accounts?
You can save all the old emails. Okay. You can either choose to have them all moved over, or you can choose to have a copy in both accounts.
Okay.
And how does it handle the duplicates?
Duplicates of contacts or emails?
Contacts. Because you might have one's name in Google.
Make a duplicate.
It's a good question, actually. Let me make a duplicate. Let me make another copy of my dad, and I'm going to go make another copy of Lindsay's. So let's do this. Let's do new contact. Dad, what was his email address, actually? jack@yahoo.com. Okay, so we'll make an exact duplicate, jack@yahoo.com.
Add a phone number, too, just for...
Okay. Okay, Dad's got a phone number now. All right, and let's make a copy of Lindsay. Let's add another Lindsay in here. And we'll give her... Okay. So good question. We've had all these duplicates got pulled in. You probably had same number of contacts on your other service, and you had some of those as well on your new Gmail account. So how is Google going to handle these duplicates for us? They have a built-in duplicate finder and remover. How does it work? Right up here. Use the More button that we have available. This is, of course, after you've moved your contacts in. It's not going to work if you haven't done the move yet. So everything has to be within your Google account first for this particular function to work for you, okay? So as soon as you have them all in here, we've got duplicates for Dad. We've got 2 accounts, 2 listings for Lindsay now. I know those are actually the same person. I wanted to clean it up for me. Click on More. Click on Find and Merge Duplicates. And Lindsay had probably saw us two different people because I had a different last name on the other one. But Dad, it found two of them, and it's going to ask me to go ahead and merge them together now for myself. One had a phone number, one didn't have a phone number. It's going to bring them together for me. And actually, let me change Lindsay so she's the same on both, so I can show you this is not some hashed demonstration. More, find and merge. Oh, might have to wait a little bit longer, but ideally this does work on all of them. We have cleaned up many people's email accounts with this little tool, and it does work wonders.
Would you go back
oh, sure.
Merge, like, press merge.
More?
Yeah, more.
Find and merge duplicates.
Yeah, just click that. Oh, sort by first name, last name. Is that why it's not?
That's just the sort order that it's showing in.
That's not the merge. Okay.
Yeah, that's not the merge. I mean, let's see what happens now if I go back to it. Yeah, still didn't.
Her emails are different. That's why.
Yeah. All right, let's do this.
If you give him the same last name, that'll work.
All right, let's try this. Lindsay, okay. More. Find and merge.
There you go.
It worked.
If the person has the same first and last name, it'll also merge it, just so you guys know. Even if they have two different emails, they'll then take those two emails and put them into the same account.
Yeah, it's fairly smart. Most situations, it does figure out pretty well which ones are duplicates and does merge them. And actually, if I go through it, let me actually show you how it looks. So we have those duplicates. I say, yes, I want to go ahead and merge those. Merge. And there we go. One Dad entry, one Lindsay entry. It's been fixed.
I mean, sometimes we'll clean up accounts for people with like
hundreds,
1,500 emails, half of them being duplicates. We'll go run the tool and they'll remove about 200 duplicates from their account. And there's people that keep 4 or 5 years of contact lists.
Any final questions on contact magic in Gmail? We're going to keep moving here. Okay. Moving forward. Here's a neat one. Okay. Going back to. So we went to that one. Shared calendar. There's a lot of uses for this. I decided to focus on a sports team calendar, shared sports team calendar, more so maybe a family sports team calendar, like little Jimmy's playing baseball or t-ball. This is very relevant for me because I used to play on a hockey team all throughout my younger years up through college, and we never had this technology. So I remember back when I was playing hockey back when I was in 5th and 6th and 7th grade, and there was the paper calendar that the manager of the team would be printing out every single month and handing out to every single parent on the team. And then we had a practice or a game that was changed on that calendar, and got to reprint it because all the parents don't have that, and parents didn't have email back then as frequently as they do now, so digital distribution wasn't even an option. So there was the manager handing out all these paper copies, and I still see it happen because I frequent the ice rink quite a bit, and this is still going on, unfortunately. So Google's given us a tool called Google Calendar, which allows us to share calendars with others. And this is not only for team calendars for a sports team. As I put on here, we can use this for homework calendar for students between a mom and a son. We can do a shared family event calendar. Our company uses Google Calendar to make sure all of us are getting to our appointments every single day. So Wesley can add on something that client Jack wanted me to come out for, and I got a call for Wes to go out to go handle something with Alex. So again, this technology lets us all stay up to date. And this is fully integrated with mobile phones. So if you have a mobile smartphone, I had a question here about does this work with my phone? This 100% works with any modern smartphone out there. But you can also use it on a computer as well or a tablet. It's very versatile. So how does this work? Let's go into demonstration mode here, and I'm going to show you. So to get into Calendar, all I have to do is click on Calendar on the upper black navigation bar. Once I'm within my Gmail, there's Calendar. It's one of the more popular items, so they do put a link to it. And once I get there, I'll be brought to a little splash screen. It looks like a digital copy of the big calendar we used to have on our desks for writing in what we're doing for every day of the week. And a lot of us still have that, so I'm not going to knock that. But this is the digital calendar that Google Calendar offers. And what this is, some people have a hard time understanding how this works, but this is an overlay that allows us to see multiple different calendars at what time. And what do I mean here by that? I'm going to put an entry onto one of my other calendars here really quickly. I'm going to put it onto that calendar. So this goes ahead and allows us to show or remove multiple different calendars on one single screen. So what do I mean by that? On the left-hand side, if I wanted to turn off one of my different calendars, I can merely click on it and it takes it off. If I only want to see something from a particular calendar, I can turn it on one at a time. So again, it's an overlay. It's not anything hard-coded into one single calendar over here. It can come on and off as needed. So how do I make one of these shared calendars for myself? Very simple. By default, when you have a Gmail account, you have one under your name. This account's called FireLogic Training, so it made a goofy calendar called FireLogic Training. But if you set it up with your name, it'll show with your name. That's your personal calendar. If I wanted to make a second calendar, this is the shared calendar that I'm discussing. All I do is, on this little drop down next to my calendars, I click on Create New Calendar. And from within here, I give my calendar a name. This is probably the only requirement that is needed in this calendar. So I will call this Class Calendar. Don't need a description. I don't need a location on it. It's up to you. Make sure your time zone's correct. And that is about all you need for that calendar. If I go ahead and click on Create, it'll show up on the left-hand side for me. There it is. Class Calendar was just added to my calendars list. So what's nice about this, I go ahead and I am, going back to our sports team example, I am the manager of my college inline hockey team or a little t-ball team, and I want to go ahead and put items on this calendar for others. I can go ahead and make entries. Go ahead, I can make a quick little calendar item. So, practice at Jefferson. And the same process I would use to make a personal calendar entry is the same one I would use for a shared calendar entry. The only difference, here's the difference. You have to make sure you're adding it onto the right calendar. That's the only difference we have to make sure that we're checking. So if I wanted this to go onto my inline hockey calendar, select calendar, drop that down, click on save, and that item will get added on to the proper calendar. And just to show you it is on the right calendar, I'm going to turn off class calendar, FireLogic Training, and there it is, that practice that I just put in. So what's nice about this, again, it's nice because you can view it and update it right on your computer screen, but anyone else with a Google account, a Gmail account, can go ahead and you can share this out with them, either specifically with certain people by using the share functionality on the left-hand side here. I can type in that person's email address. I can type in Wesley's email address right over here. And I can share that specifically with him, and what'll that give? It'll give him the capability of seeing that on his mobile phone, seeing it within his web calendar account, and he'll be able to go ahead and make updates and changes in additions to the calendar just like I am. As long as I put the proper permissions level. Again, we're always asking, what kind of privacy, what kind of rights are we giving out? You're only giving out as much as you want to give out, because by default everything is given out as everything's private. You have to give out those permissions for others to be able to use that. So if I'm giving that permission to Wes, I have to actually go ahead and say, give him rights to go ahead and make changes to the events on that calendar. It's up to you. It's when we make mistakes giving out permissions is when people get too many rights to the files that we have. That's the biggest problem that I see today. So not only can we use that calendar within our Google Calendar interface, I can use it on my smartphone. I have probably 6 to 7 calendars I use that are shared from Google accounts on my smartphone and our company smartphones. But another nice part is I can go ahead and I can put this calendar into a website. So for example, I'm going to show off a little bit of Google Sites, free website tool in just a little bit. But here is a little personal or a website that I just quickly put together. It took me 10 minutes for my hockey team. And I went ahead and I embedded that calendar right within here. So I could say, hey, everyone that's part of my reading club, go to the website and you can see the calendar for our book agenda for the month. Or our hockey team, where we're going to be playing and what the times are for that schedule. So again, we're reducing the need to print everything out or email copies and copies. Instead, we're going up and we're giving others access to it in a safe manner with as much access as we want to provide and giving them the power to go find the information for themselves instead of us having to do that for them. Yes.
So since this is a Google app and it's in the cloud, it syncs automatically with your other mobile devices?
Automatically. I make a change, I'm sitting in my work email account during the day, I add something onto the calendar, it's hitting my smartphone, it's hitting Wesley's smartphone, everyone else in my company, all their computers as well, any tablets that they're using at the current time, all the heavy lifting's done by Google. I don't have to do that. You really couldn't do that kind of thing before, you know? Even Outlook, all the people that love Outlook out there, you know, they've got their beautiful calendars in there, but so what? You can't share that with anyone. It's only for you, and even if you want to get that on your smartphone, you probably have to have some kind of cloud email service connected to be able to use that. So you can see where the power of having this kind of accessible and freely shareable calendar system can work wonders, can give a lot of people access, a lot of people power to make changes to something that used to be one gatekeeper. I have the file, I have access, and I have to give you that printed copy for you to get access to it. Not anymore. We have choices. We have options now. Okay? Now that's just one way that you could use a shared calendar. As you can see, all the items in this calendar are the same items that are on this calendar. All the same entries that I was just showing you. I update it here. It goes to the website. It goes to the smartphone. It bounces to all the different places. Real-time, anywhere accessibility for ourselves. Yes?
Are you the only one that is allowed to make changes on the master copy, or are your other people?
That depends on what kind of sharing access I give out. So when I was showing just a moment ago, and again, I don't want to get into too much detail on the sharing because it gets very confusing. Yeah. Not confusing, but it takes time to fully explain. But if you go in and you do share this calendar, this list over here, I didn't add anyone in, but I could add in any email address that is connected to a Google account, and they could have access. So if I wanted to give Wes the power to add things to the calendar, I would add him in, his email address, and I would say he can make changes to events. That means he can put things on, take things off, and see everything on the calendar. Likewise, if this was a situation, maybe a boss and his secretary, I would go ahead and probably have the secretary set to see only free busy, so she could only see when he's busy or available, but then he'd have access to everything on the calendar. And he wouldn't have to keep two copies, a calendar for her and a calendar for him.
Yeah, let's say he goes out on a call and they're not there. Okay?
Yes.
So then he can email you back and say, well, I've got something else in that area.
Exactly. So this works between coworkers, between students, between teacher and students, between people in a club, organization. You can think in terms of your own imagination as far as how you'd be able to use that. Yes?
It's only if they have Gmail account.
Only if they have a Google account. So let me friendly preface that. Google account could be a Gmail account, or it could be anyone that uses Google Apps at their work. And it's getting more and more popular today. So we use Google Apps at our company. Any other company that uses Google Apps, they have Google accounts for their workers. And anyone else with Gmail has a Google account. So the ecosystem is getting pretty large in terms of who can access these things with this kind of power. Yes?
How does this compare to the iCloud?
Yes.
I stopped using iCloud. I'm a pretty heavy Mac user. Every single device I own is Apple, but every service I use is Google-based, just because, in all honesty, iCloud's been a little bit of a disappointment. I started with MobileMe, and the Google stuff just works better. It syncs faster. There's just more compatibility. I mean, all the Google stuff will work with a lot of the iCloud stuff. If you've got a calendar set up for use with the iCloud, you can usually send out the RSS feed to everyone and have it shared out on your Google Calendar as well. But you can't do that back the other way. So there's a little more freedom using the Google version.
So you can use this on all your Apple products.
Everyone asks me why I don't get an Android phone, because I am using all the Google services, and the fact of the matter is almost every app I can use Google on, I can get on my iPhone. So there's the best of both worlds type of thing.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, most of these things are accessible, and of course, the two biggest ones, the Android and the iPhone, the most prevalent ones. But the Windows phones are becoming much more accessible with this as well, and even the new BlackBerry that they came out with, it's becoming a lot more accessible too. Android and iPhone by far, but the other ones are creeping up as well. So it's not as much of a one-horse show anymore. Yes?
As you're talking about how easy these apps are to use, I know I'm concerned because the high school just went to Google Chromebooks. That's what they're going to use.
Are you 207 or are you
207?
207, okay.
And so I'm just curious, I don't know if this is a good part to ask this question, but
there seems to be no negatives. Everyone just loves it. It's all perfect. I mean, I think it's it sounds amazing.
Well, here's the big negative. If the internet's not working, you don't have much to work with.
I just, like,
that's a big negative.
You need to go to lots of different presentations, and not a single person, regardless of who the presenter is, has any, reservations or any problems. I mean, can you honestly say that you've had any negativity whatsoever, or is it just as perfect as ever?
I mean, here's the thing with the Chromebooks. Google's always updating them, so you don't have to do updates yourself. You don't even see the updates happen in most cases. So, in addition, all the software is coming from Google, so you can't install anything that would give you a virus. So, from a security standpoint, they're safer. As far as downsides, you can't do gaming on them unless it's a Google-approved game, so some kids might not like it. There's some Windows apps you can't run them natively on the device. That's a limitation. So if you wanted to use QuickBooks, you'd have to use their online version. But the thing is, this new cloud ecosystem, all these online applications, they're really starting to come out to replace this dependency on what operating system you have. So we're really moving into a world where it doesn't matter if you have a Mac, if you have a Windows PC, if you're using a phone, it really doesn't matter because it's all online. And all these devices are being built to be compatible and be able to talk the same web language. So it's much more versatile, which is where these Chromebooks start to get their edge.
Yeah. Another big benefit is obviously cost. The districts, I've been watching the Chromebook situation quite heavily, obviously because I used to work there as well, and I'm pretty deep in technology now with what I'm doing. But for the price of one MacBook, we can get 4 students' Chromebooks. It's a big difference. We couldn't do that before. Even Windows PCs that are relatively cheap, you can't beat the price point of a Chromebook. So they're just cheap and good bang for the buck. And relatively good security and things like that. And internet, again, as I was saying, one big downside. Yes, I'm going to say internet. You have no internet, you can't use the device, a Chromebook device or these heavy cloud apps as we're talking about. But is access to internet that much of an issue in our suburban Chicago area today? Every school campus that I know about in this 30-mile radius has Wi-Fi blanketed, and internet connectivity is very, very stable as far as I've seen. So the one big potential downside that hurts rural districts, where we've gone out and we've helped some rural districts that were moving to Chromebooks, and yes, internet connectivity that is a little choppy, that's the time when I would say we may need to rethink this. But in this suburban area, the one big downside in terms of internet is not really an issue for us. Okay? Moving forward. Another way that I use Google Docs, or another Google app, is Google Docs for shared recipes. And again, there's so many different things for this. You can use this in the classroom, shared notes, shared folders for project files. In my personal life, me and my girlfriend are using Google Docs to share our recipes amongst one another, and it's very easy to do. So we used to store them in Microsoft Office files, and of course I had to either give her the flash drive or she had to have access to wherever I put those files. Google allows us to access these no matter what computer we're on. So I'm going to go back into my Google account. I'm going to click on Drive. So when I say Google Docs and Google Drive, they're interchangeable. They're the same service. It's just a matter of what you're doing with that particular service at the current time. I'm using the Google Drive to work on my Google Docs files. So I actually shared out with our test account under Shared With Me. I shared out my recipes folder. There's my picture that we were talking about. That's my photo right over there. Okay? We go into recipes, and this is just a portion of some of the recipes that we've been saving in here. And you'll see some of them with a PDF logo because we uploaded these. We saved we printed out a copy of a web page and then put it up here because it was a little tough to copy. Or some of them we actually just made straight Google Docs files. So this was a bean chili that we made one time. We put it up within here. We actually put the pictures in here as well. So this, again, traditionally would have been a Microsoft Word file. I would save this and I would have to pass it off or email it off to someone if I wanted to share it. Instead, I'm going ahead, I'm creating a Google Doc file, and there's many other kinds of Google Docs that you can make. It's not just a Word kind of file. You can make presentations like what our presentation was. Spreadsheets is the Excel alternative. Form is something I'm going to show off in a little bit as well. And you can even make drawings within here. It's like a light version of Microsoft Paint, a little actually better version of Microsoft Paint, where you can work on others with shared drawings. So this particular example uses a folder where we're dumping in PDF files of recipes. Here's a, let's see, Parmesan baked fish that we went ahead. This was actually a scan from a cookbook that my mom actually has, so I scanned it in, I made a PDF, and I put it into Google Drive so I can show it to my girlfriend when we're making this recipe, or I can even share it out with my friends. You know, they come over, they like the recipe, I could just share it right within here. There's a big share button right at the bottom here, and I can just share it out with whoever needs access. No more emailing. I just go ahead and hit share over here, and they have access straight to that recipe file that I put in here for myself. So again, that's the way that I use Google Docs in my personal life. You could probably think of many other examples. All the teachers in the crowd, Google Docs and the shared folders in Google Drive, very, very easy to leverage, and you could use them for all kinds of class projects and storing notes and people working on things with one another on teams. Because again, another big powerful aspect of Google Docs is that when I share this out, this particular Google Doc file, if I wanted someone to get access to it, they could come in here, and we've shown this. We've done a Google Docs class where we did 2-hour training on how to do this from start to finish. We don't have that kind of time here today. You can visit our YouTube channel for that. But actually multiple people can be within here, and you see them typing as you're working on it. Very granular editing access to this file, and I don't have to worry about if it's just me and the girlfriend in it, or me and the girlfriend and my friend Bob in it. I can have as many people working within here if I gave them access as I like. So again, you can see where the ease of accessibility is just been expanded for us, and that craziness of emailing attachments after attachment has been reduced to a matter of hitting a share button and typing someone's email address in.
And this keeps a record of who you've shared with?
Yes. At any time I can click on share in the upper right hand corner, and I can see exactly who has access and what kind of access they have. So you can see here that my girlfriend has editing access, ownership access, and so do I. Right down here, editing access, and also this test account has access as well. So at any given time, you can see how many people you've given it access to, how many people have view-only access. So this is useful if I wanted to share it out with a friend. I didn't want them going in and messing my recipe up. I would just give them view access, change it to view, and they would go in, they would just be able to see it, but they can't make changes then. Again, that's the control that you have as the one that made that Google Doc file. It's only as accessible as you give out that key to someone else for it.
Let me do music really fast. We're out of time. I think we can skip forums.
All right, hold on. Any questions on Google Docs? All right.
What else do you want to do?
Our YouTube channel, we're going to do one more demonstration. We're going to actually skip to because we're running out of time. But our YouTube channel, on the back of our agenda, I forgot to change the name. It's the same agenda we were using for Office 2013 a few weeks back. So forgive me for that mistake. But under where it says excellent resources for Office 2013, towards the bottom of the page, you'll see FireLogic YouTube channel. That's where we put up all of our classes that we do. All these videos from day one till today, you're going to see this, and this one will go up by the weekend. So it will be there. And also, if Laura has your email address, if you register with an email address, you will have this emailed out to you. You don't have to do any legwork for it. So you are going to receive that. All right, I'm going to let Wes go over Google Music really quickly.
Really fast. One of the best services that I personally like that Google's given out. Who here uses iTunes or any other sort of music player? What Google has done is they've gone out and created a program called Google Music. And what this program does is it allows you to store 44,000 songs in the cloud for free, and they don't charge 20,000. Thank you. And in most cases, this is about, I'd say, about 50 gigs worth of music that you can just send over to the cloud. And the way that it works is you install this application on your computer, and if you already have iTunes installed, it'll go ahead and take your entire iTunes library, move it into the cloud, and then you can listen to your music without having to sync it every single time you add a song across all of your devices. So the way I have it set up is I've got a copy of the Google Music Manager on my MacBook, on my cell phone, on my workstation PC, and then I also have it hooked up to a little iPod Touch that I have attached to my stereo. So now instead of having to worry about syncing my music across all these different devices, all I do is I add a new song to iTunes, and then I delete it after it's synced to the cloud, and now I have this entire list of songs for free hosted on the web. So when I go running and I have my iPhone with me, I just have it hooked up to my Verizon account. I go ahead, I put my headphones in, and I run, and I have my entire computer worth of music with me. The way that the music program works, okay. You go ahead, you pick standard, you choose the free version, and you choose to set up an account. It'll ask you some personal information, you fill it out, and this only applies if you go over the limit, and they'll tell you before they do that. So the way that, and I'll show you mine really fast, it'll be easier. Just to give you guys an idea what it looks like. Alright, so the way that it works is, come on, let me in. It works better if you are only logged into one account. Oh dear. Wait up, I'm just going to log out of all the accounts. Sorry. Sorry guys, technical difficulties. Alright, so the way that this works is, like I said, it's completely free, and once it's set up, what it'll do is it'll show you all the music from your entire machine. So everything that you uploaded with all the album art, all the stuff that the old record fans like, is automatically there, and it will be streamed to all your devices at the same time. Now there isn't a Google Music app for the iPhone, but there's something, there's compatible versions that you can download. Just type in Google Music, and it'll give you a program that'll connect to the service for free. For the Mac, there's a program called G-Ears that works with the service, and it works the same way that it does inside of the browser, or on any device. If you just go to music.google.com, it'll work inside of your device's browser. Now, just to give you an idea of the way that this works, I have all my music, everything from my computer. If there's something that I wanted to search for, and this is nice because with all the Google services they include search because that's what they're really big on. If I wanted to pull a song from my library, in this case I got some ABBA going, you just choose it, and if you wanted to hear Mamma Mia, I don't know if Derrick has his sound up, you just click it and it starts playing it straight from the cloud. You don't have to wait for it to download, you don't have to wait for it to buffer, and it's pretty quick on most internet connections. And it'll just keep playing unless you pause it. If you wanted to find something else that you know that's in your library, you can go ahead and pull it up.
But when you're running, will the next song keep playing then?
Yes, it'll keep playing the next one that's either on your playlist or within that same artist category that you were in last. You can create playlists. There's shuffle playlists. There's a lot of different features to this program, and it's really one of the nicest things that Google's put out for people. Of course, they developed it for the purpose of selling music. You can actually buy songs from inside the Google Music service. Those don't count against your memory limit of the number of songs you can have because that's being hosted by Google and you paid for it. But once you buy that song, you can actually download all of your songs, and this is the nicest thing about it. If you wanted to, let's say that you wanted to go back to using iTunes because you had your iPod Shuffle and you wanted to put some music on it, there's an option inside the Music Manager, download to my library. So what it'll do is it'll take all your songs out of the Google Music, and it'll add it straight back into iTunes for you. So it'll dump all of them back. So let's just say that you're just using this as a backup for your music. You can upload your entire music library, your computer gets wiped out, you reinstall Windows, put all iTunes back in, hit restore music, it'll take all your music and throw it back into iTunes for you. You don't have to worry about losing anything. I mean, this is even if you're not using the service. You know, as a way to distribute. So there's a lot of good uses to it. And like I said, it keeps the album art with it. In this case, I'm just going to pull one more up from another album. I mean, it's pretty fast. I mean, once you click play, it just goes. And it'll seamlessly switch between songs. So, in the case of this one, I'll just jump to the end here. So when I'm done with the first song, I might stop because this is the last one on the list, so it's probably not the best example. I'll do the end of this one really fast just to show you guys how nicely it transitions. So it's pretty quick. It just jumps straight to the next song on your list. And like I said, this will work on any device. So as long as you have a 3G or 4G connection on your phone, you can use this while you're driving in the car. I mean, it's pretty nice. Does anyone have any particular questions about Google Music?
And the other nice thing about this is I don't maintain a personal music collection anymore. I just use Pandora for all my stuff. But for people that do maintain music collections, and a thing that we have to help a lot of people with when they switch computers, what happens with iTunes, right? iTunes has to move with your computer, and your computer dies. Oh, got to get the iTunes library back. No more. You don't have to worry about that because when you move it up here, again, the power of the cloud, it has your backup. Your computer can crash, your smartphone can crash, your music is all still safe. And your iPod can also go down. It doesn't matter at that point.
How do I use it with my iPhone?
The app is, oh man. Please don't be dead yet. Give me 1 second. I should have this memorized.
Okay. Can you also put in MP3 off of MP3?
Yes, you just.
Oh yeah, that's supported right off the bat. MP3, any CDs that you've made copies of onto your computer that are yours that aren't in the locked. The only things that will not transfer are the locked formats that Apple, the iTunes store used to sell up until a few years ago. The locked songs. If you have fully unlocked MP3s that you created yourself from a disc, or music you purchased from Amazon that's unlocked, or Apple that's unlocked, you can move all that up until the Google Play Store.
And we have like a lot of old-time radio programs.
Okay.
And the MP3 seems to be different than the regular MP3.
In what way? The sound of it, or just the
no,
way that
it's? I'm not. You need a special MP3 player to play those particular.
What kind of player do you need in that instance? Is it by a specific company? Like the company makes that player?
Yeah.
Or is you talking about a physical player, like one that you carry with you, a physical?
Yeah, well, yeah, right.
Okay, that might be specific just to that category or that format that you're talking about. I mean, generally that's not the case when it comes to digital music if it's not locked.
Because even when I try to transfer it over to iTunes, there's a special way of changing the format of the MP3.
It's probably a special format that's just made for whatever device it is that you listen to it on. And that's a problem that used to exist many years ago with some of the older devices where it was a wild west in terms of everyone doing their own thing, and that's really not been an issue for the last 4 or 5 years.
The app I'm using, it's called Melodies Google Music Client. It's a nice little program. It costs 99 cents for that one. There's 3 or 4 free ones before it, but I like this one because it shows you all the album art with the songs, and it's really well organized. Then another one that's nice is Cloud Player for Google Music, which seems to be a little closer designed to look like an Android app, and that one's $2. But I really recommend the Melodies one because that's the one I use, and I've never had a problem with it.
Just Melodies?
Yeah, it's Melodies Google Apps Client.
There's also a sharing capability within here.
Google Music Client.
I haven't personally used the sharing capability, but I've read online of teachers using the sharing capability in Google Music to share out recordings of their lectures or other lectures that are recorded or available online, and they've shared those with their students. That's just one way you could use this in a different scenario than just putting up your personal music collection. So there are more things you can do with Google Music than just that. Any other general questions about anything? We got a few giveaways that Wes is going to hand out. But I want to answer any questions anyone has about any of the Google apps that we showed up on here. Anything that we didn't show off, specifically the Google Sites and the Google Forms. If you're interested and you send me an email and I didn't go over those items, I will email you the exact video of the class we did before that shows off how to do both of those items. So just send me an email to our email account, info@firelogic.net, and I will go ahead and I will tell you which video on our YouTube channel has it and what part of the video to go to learn about it. So that's the best I can do in light of our little time crunch that we have here today.
I have
Yes.
another question. Yesterday there was something on the news about Google and Gmail.
Okay.
What, do you know what that was, or some?
Was it probably related to the NSA discussion that we had?
It very well
Yeah.
could be.
Yeah. So there's been
I
a lot of talk
I
about.
didn't hear the whole thing. I just
You
knew
know,
it's in Gmail.
I'm gonna be honest. The whole NSA thing, yes, it's a serious thing that they're looking at our stuff. I mean, it is an invasion of privacy on a lot of levels, and I personally I distaste it. But at the same time, I think the extent to which it's been taken has been extraordinarily exaggerated. It's nowhere near as overblown as people are taking it to. And I think it's something like 1.8% of all web traffic is actually being looked at. And well, yeah, it's a reasonable amount, but I mean, there's a really, really good chance that the NSA has never looked at anything you have.
Yeah, and I'm not defending the program in any way. I don't work for the government, but you may or may not heard of it. But there's been a tool that the NSA has been using since the mid-'70s called Project Echelon. It's been watching and listening to every phone call you make, every digital communication you have. So this kind of oversight's been around. It's been blown up. It's in the news again. So it's going to come and go, just like anything else. Yes.
I don't want to disagree with you, but when they start building the complex that they're building in Utah, with that massive, all those buildings in there, don't tell me they're not loading a ton of information in there. A lot more than what you think.
I'm not disagreeing. I'm not undermining the capabilities in any way.
That facility out there is gigantic. It's gargantuan, and there's a reason for that. That's all.
All right. What we have to give out here are a couple of little T-shirts, and I'm going to finish handing out these cards extraordinarily fast because I'm going to be asking you guys questions from them and from our class. I guess I'll only do one from the card, because otherwise it wouldn't be very fair. We have additional cards over at the door. Feel free to grab one on the way out. With each one of these T-shirts, you do get a discount card if you decide to give us a call to do any sort of IT work. We do security cameras, we do computer repair, we do on-site support. Anything you guys need that has to be done with the computer, we can usually help you guys with it. We do Mac, PC, Linux, whatever. The first question I'm going to ask you guys is, can one of you guys name one of the Google services that we talked about today?
Google Moderator.
Okay. You guys kind of all answered at one time. All right. The first person that can blurt out our phone number.
312-445-0702.
Would you like a T-shirt, a hat, or a Podio shirt?
I'll have the hat. Okay. The first person that can tell me my associate's name.
Derrick.
This one's for the Podio shirt.
And there's one question I'm actually going to answer that was on a Google Moderator page. So thank you to Lauren that submitted that. I'm going to address that question in just a moment. Wes, you can hand everything out.
Okay.
You can do it wedding style, just throw it.
We want to cause any injuries here. It's almost time to leave.
How much does Google Apps cost?
Free.
You guys are really.
Everyone's been listening well today.
Just throw them there, somebody will grab it.
Don't take out the projector.
All right, let's do this one. How many songs can you store in Google?
I heard over there. I heard over there.
I did. I heard it over here. Everyone's pointing here on one side. All right. I got one more. What town is our company located in?
felt it over here. All right. All of our swag is gone, but we had one more question on our moderator page, so one person did use it the way we wanted it to be used. So someone asked us, what's the downside of using Google Apps? I sort of answered this question a little bit previously, but one of the biggest downsides, again, if internet connectivity is a big issue for you, may not be the best service, because again, this is very internet dependent. A lot of the nice, powerful features are brought out by having that internet capability and being able to use this wherever you go. But again, for people in rural areas or in situations where you may not have internet access at home, a lot of these things may not be as applicable to you. So you may need to rely more on the traditional Microsoft Office or some other things just built into your computer at home. And the other thing is, and this is again a personal thing, it's how do you feel about the privacy concerns that go into using tools like these? I hope that we've allayed some of those fears by showing you that Google's not the only provider that is needs to be a part of these restrictions and oversight by the NSA and things of that nature. But for the most part, they do a good job. They are out there for our best interest. As I said, our government is moving their services to Google and Microsoft's cloud systems. A lot of big businesses are, other government organizations, nonprofits, and we work with businesses and nonprofits and education on a monthly basis, working to get them on these services. So, sometimes I say if it's safe enough for them, private enough for them, it's good enough for me. So, any other questions? Well, I thank you all for coming. We're going to tear down anything we have now and start packing up so we don't get kicked out with the boots out of here. But if you have any final questions, feel free to stop and ask us. We'll definitely answer anything until we're kicked out of here. So, yes.
Okay, I got that.
You got that. Let's see. Can you that?
I couldn't get onto that.
They apparently biked over there.
I really couldn't tell you why it's not accessing it, because I was going to it multiple times during the presentation.
And that's why I asked in the beginning how I thought I would do something.
Strange. Could just be a signal issue on the phone. I couldn't tell you. I know it's up and accessible. I don't know exactly why it wasn't working on the phone for you.
Okay, and one other non-related question.
Yes, go ahead.
How do I get the date on the bottom of my screen?
You don't have the date?
No.
On the bottom of your screen right now? And you use what kind of computer? Windows?
Windows.
Dell Windows computer?
Yeah.
Usually that doesn't get taken away on you, but and again, it depends on what version of Windows you're using. But if
7.
you're using Windows 7, so we right-click on any white space on the taskbar, go to Properties. There should be an area in here for us to turn on the time. And again, Windows 7, it might have a little different spot than I'm used to. But send me an email, and I will send you a link exactly how to turn it on for yourself.
Wonderful.
It's not supposed to get turned off. I've never seen it turned off.
And I do like, because I was here last Saturday. It's wonderful.
Okay.
Now I can't log on.
Absolutely, and this was a very good presentation.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Send me an email if you can't figure out how to get the time turned on, and I'll find you a link to an article showing you step by step how to do it, okay?
Okay.
All right. Question.
I paid a guy to work on my computer, but he did it everything remotely. So he got into my computer.
Just give us a call. We'll send
it off.
Okay.
So my question is, I got an icon with his phone number. When I call him for service, he goes in there and he just tells me to click on the icon with the number. And it gets in there. Can you come in at any time?
So many.
Anything he wants, it's on my computer.
St. Paul's.
Do you have to give him access? Do you have to specifically allow him access when he gets in there? Because that's what it sounds like. It sounds like you have to give him the privilege to come in.
That's what he tells me, but I start to wonder what.
There's always a possibility, yes. I mean, the tool that we use does give us the capability of doing that if the customer allows us to have that anytime access. So it is possible. I don't know what specific program he's using, so I can't say yes or no for that question. But it is possible, yes, it does exist.
One other question. I've had
they've also changed
AT&T. I had email with them. It used to be SBC Global.
Okay.
And then you just changed it to AT&T.net for the email address.
Sure. That's Microsoft.
Now it's through Outlook. And what happened was I couldn't remember the access code.
So many times you click on email and it comes up with Outlook.
So I had a computer
I don't have an Outlook.
and then he set me up on Yahoo.
To do any of these things?
But what's happening is all the
Can I
email
tie
I'm
that
getting,
in with
because
a
I still
Google
have my
or-
old
Sure.
email address, I'm getting a
No.
duplication. I'm getting it both on
What are you using for email?
Yahoo.
through Outlook.
Here's gonna be
I'm
my
also
advice
getting
as
it
far as the
on
Yahoo goes. They
Yahoo.com.
act way too often.
I know, because
I don't wanna
both
put
my
up with
daughter
that.
and my
He's having
granddaughter,
trouble
and that's just a
transferring
small circle.
my
Yeah, it happens all the time.
name and address, my
Systems
email
are
addresses, and all that
secure. They allow you to
information
just keep entering passwords without any
and he doesn't
verification.
understand why. He
So a lot
says
of
he's gonna have to
hackers will
research it.
target
Pretty
it.
basic problem. I
a-
question whether he has as much knowledge as he says he does,
I do have
but
an
it's a
email
very basic
account,
thing we
but
help
I'm
a lot
not
of people
using
with
it.
every single month.
You can use
Yeah, he
migration
said he
control
couldn't figure out
for
why it
all the
wasn't
stuff
being
in Yahoo.
transferred. He said
And
he's gonna have
any
to
new emails
research
that go to your
it. So I
Yahoo will
couldn't-
get
I didn't
copied
say
over.
that. I
Any
called him
free
back.
email services, it's so
Okay.
simple to
It's
move those
completely
things
free.
over.
Well, he says it's not taken. He says it should be taken.
And now how
You
many
know,
accounts can you
my
have
fear
with
of
this?
computers is always, there's always a,
Because
one
I
of
have
those big
I have
mysterious
4 or 5
problems.
accounts.
And sometimes there is. I mean, I'm not going to say that it's
And what is
always
on a
easy,
business
but
card
we
that
work
I
with
have
email
that I
so
use
much
for
in our
job
line of
searching?
business that
And I
it
don't
doesn't
wanna
sound like
lose
anything that would
one.
really throw us off. So I mean, if you want another set of eyes to look at it, feel free to give us a call. We can probably even connect remotely for you. Right down there.
Oh,
And if you had a business
And you don't
card,
have to worry about
it's right on here as well.
The
Okay?
other thing, and this is if you're using it for
Thanks.
Give us a call. We'll give you 10% off library discount. Okay?
All right, very good, sir.
We're here to help.
You teach a course on this Google thing from beginning to end?
We have. There's no way we could sit down in one day and do it. We've done it piecemeal.
You got a book or you just take it in sections?
There's no book. We've done classes like this, and we take them piece by piece. Gmail, Docs, Calendar, Google Sites, and we should teach everyone in 2 hours how to use this, how to use this, how to use this. You can go on our YouTube channel. We have all those individual classes on there. You can rewatch them.
And how many classes are there?
For the Google Apps series, there's 4. So email, calendar, Google Docs, the recipe item we were showing, and then the final one is how to make a website, Google Sites. That's the 4 pieces of it. Okay? Thank you for coming out.
Okay, two
Go ahead.
questions. One you kind of answered,
Sure.
but
Now,
on the
how much
on the
would it
on the
be to do that?
on the music, I got the iTunes. I can put it all into the Google Music. Do I have to eliminate everything off of the iTunes then, or could I just leave that?
You don't have to. You can leave it on the iTunes.
Just leave it.
Yeah, because the Google Music doesn't interoperate with the. It doesn't necessarily interoperate with the iTunes. It takes the copy of the music and it holds its own copy. So you could pretty much say sayonara to iTunes and just use the Google Music from that point on.
Okay.
It's an option.
You'd have to ask Derrick.
They're mutually exclusive, so
Okay.
they're 2 separate ecosystems.
I think it was.
And then I heard you say you have a site about our YouTube about the website, building your own website.
Well, I was just curious because I
Okay,
wanted
so
The Google
I'll-
Sites?
Yeah.
Yeah, we have it. You go on our YouTube channel and you type and you look for the class
So,
that's
okay.
called Google Sites
I
for
can do
Beginners.
that.
That's where
Yeah.
we do 2 hours of in-depth how to make
Okay.
your own free website.
Okay.
And that's part of the same Google Suite. We just didn't have time to show that aspect
Yeah,
of
right,
it today.
sure. Okay. Yeah,
But that's a nice full class that we 2 hours, and you will learn from start to finish how to make your own free website with no prior experience in that
Okay,
system.
so all I have to do is go to
Go to this, and then just look at some of our older videos. Scroll to the right on the
Okay.
older video section, and it'll probably show up in like the 10th or 15th video.
Okay. And since you're
Okay.
a website person,
Thank you
you
for showing
can
up.
do your own
Appreciate it.
website on Google?
Yes, you can do your own website.